Yeah, I wanted to include some involving Wells Fargo and Regions Bank, and it seemed to be, the issue of me being on SSI, having a direct deposit, leaving a checking account into a Regions prepaid now card that is not a checking account, yet presents the issue. This seems the difference between like the American Express Bluebird card only having 15 digits as a prepaid card, yet Wells Fargo presents information of like an electronic wallet, and that a debit card is not an electronic wallet. Yet a debit card is just about as electronic as it gets, unless it's only the issue of it being a checking account, and maybe like not knowing the difference of what the P is in proper English numerical composition as a 16-digit number, as compared to the idea maybe only what identity would only suggest is the O thing, the 15th letter in the face, and like some idea like legal media, as compared to whether or not the 16 letter being P or the 16-digit number only presents the issue of whether it's a visual or pronounced or silent, and likewise in addition the presence only giving the impression of only what light sky isometrics would only mean, maybe beyond braille and three-dimensional actual participation. And the thing with this is that Wells Fargo presents the issue of like digital wallets, and Wells Fargo thoroughly claims that a debit card is not an electronic wallet, but hey, the debit card is like, so like in the wallet, like, I mean, so does that mean that, some idea of like SAN software, international financial management, is distinguishing the difference of like business hours, like of an ATM that's not even attached to the bank as a storage area network, or maybe, the thought of maybe, the name of what was normally on a checking account of an endorsement, being the identity crisis of between the ATM and the bank account itself of the U.S. dollar, or some idea of like available and close having to the hearing impaired, and what security cameras really are in banks, as compared to like Regions Bank presents the Now card as a prepaid Now card and not a checking account, yet has 16 digits. And that was my thing at first. At first, like when I looked at it, it's kind of like I'm almost for sure it only had 15 digits, but yet when I received it, all that information changed. Like networking is like a normal like idea of like a something like that happening in parallel over alphanumerics, like continually, like every single day. And the thing with this is like now I mean, it's presenting the issue on a prepaid card that is not a checking account, that does not accept checks in any kind of way, and it's not supposed to, as a method of uploading anything other than what would be accepted as a direct deposit, because that's all I have is a direct deposit from supplemental security income, direct from the United States Treasury and Internal Revenue Service. The thing is that it's also presenting the issue with like benefits was Amerigroup, as far as like Medicaid, has presented the issue of like WellPoint as compared to previously the Amerigroup, and it presents the issue now as compared to SSI, the SDI thing of like that would suggest that employment had been a factor in a way that would maybe be some idea of like an eligibility issue, and if WellPoint is actually like doing it on behalf of like all that on behalf stuff, like without like having anything to say about it or identifying it, and some idea of like Wells Fargo using Regions Bank as like some idea of like a digital wallet, and automatically like some idea of like, I mean, is that like a breach of national security of like Regions Bank? I mean, it's like Wells Fargo like using Regions Bank as intellectual property, suggesting like manufacturing like some idea of like an exchange commission, or would that be maybe the importing and exporting factor of like immigration customs enforcement in need of like the escapades, or some amphibious thing that would have like maybe something beyond maritime law, liquid or equity. I mean, if it's only liquid or equity based upon only a degree level of what only non-degreed would be as compared to degreed, or some idea of like non-transferable, non-negotiable, non-transferable itemization in a way like what most people don't see is a Ulysses S. Grant issue involving the checking account. And now it's kind of like, I had ordered a prepaid Now card that is not a checking account, and now there's like a negative balance on an electronic deposit is not supposed to be in any kind of way. I mean, in any kind of way, having a negative balance in any kind of way. And yet it presents the issue of networking involving, like performance monitoring, as compared to some like idea of like performance monitoring somewhere between like Orion Performance Monitoring and Cisco, that presents the issue of whether or not the some on-site location of stationary engineering on the toilet would only present the signals the difference of non-negotiable, non-transferable itemization in the form of the note being legal tender for all debt or debit. Is it a debit or debt? Is it a debit card or is it a debt card? Or is it a prepaid card and not a checking account or not, Regions Bank? Or is it like Wells Fargo, like suggesting that being on a stagecoach is like performing some liquid equity based upon the memory of a baptism or some religious issue, or, you know, maybe stating an address and need, like, you know, separation between church and state. I mean, you know, ultimately, you know, like the Bluebird card of like American Express is a 15-digit number, and, you know, being the O thing, or would that be the difference between like the operator in the 0 degree, the absolute zero of the 90 degree of the equator, presenting, you know, the idea of like real, you know, if ultimately it's getting to, you know, like idea of like the insight haze representing some idea of like a digital card will only mean that a prepaid card would only have internal access as what an employee or maybe an administrative function, or would it be the thought of like, we could mean a breach, or like receiving like mail? I mean, it's not like certified mail, and it wasn't picked up at the bank. Well, what is the bank saying? What is Wells Fargo saying about it? I mean, is it chicken hound, or is it just like the idea of like, you mean you got it in the mail in your own mailbox, and it wasn't like picked up at the bank, and all that was like created at the bank, and like there's like online banking with like mobile telecommunications and on the phone, and like you haven't like activated it at the bank, and there was like no questions asked, and now there's like a negative balance on a prepaid account, a prepaid now card. I mean, it seems the difference of Regions Bank. I mean, is it supposed to be a 15-digit number representing what American Express is to the Bluebird of a prepaid card? Or is Regions Bank presenting the issue of like on par stuff, or like some idea of like having the right to assemble of like multinational corporation and international banking systems, and, you know, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, importing and exporting, what it means is method of banking, you know, like whether or not have a U.S. patent product is only the idea of like whether citizenship and birthrights is made a grade, to even, you know, be granted, you know, eligibility, be, you know, maybe considered maybe something a little more than maybe some placement test of like, or, you know, U.S. citizens like somehow survive going through the circuit of the Stargate program, designated some, you know, some premeditated, you know, direction of like some, you know, some placement of like projected estimate options in the future of what relation is, or maybe just some singular, you know, bipolar, you know, direction of like, you know, hey, it's good seeing you, but hey, is that an incomplete pass? I mean, for real, okay? So, like, what's going on with Regions Bank and the prepaid NAT card? Well, Regions Bank, I mean, it's supposed to be a 15-digit number identifying. I mean, it's not the identity crisis of, like, proper English numerical composition presenting 16 digits as a debit card, like a checking account, is it? Well, what do you have to say about it? Is it a 15-digit or a 16-digit? And, like, you know, where's the breach at? Is it the federal, state, and local authority? Cooperation? What kind of cooperation? With the idiocy of non-negotiable, non-transferable itemization of a method of banking, of a history of a television programming, and a mailbox, right? Or like the electronic wallet, it's like deemed as like, what is that, like a defective like digital wallet in the form of like a debit card, and like, you know, like wait a minute, you're looking for the backside of the U.S. $1, right? Or maybe it's the European standard of the symbolic representation of the backside of the U.S. $1, and the European standard of the International Electrical Electronic Engineering representative, that symbol, you know, going beyond would only be, you know, the paperwork or some flat plane surface of two-dimensional and three-dimensional actual participation factor, like what would be representative of the symbolic representation beyond the paperwork and paper-made of a checking account, and to the electronic and electrical side of electronic power in Houston, Texas, beyond a, you know, a checking account. So what is it Regions Bank and Wells Fargo? Wells Fargo presents all the information that Regions Bank is only suggesting having. Wells Fargo don't even present that it's eligible to even be accepted as a digital wallet of a card from Wells Fargo itself. Yet Regions Bank, as far as I know of, I mean, I've tried for, 10, 12, 13 years to get, like, the card. I know they have it. So, like, now it's, like, really the issue between, like, the Bluebird and the American Express being the 15-digit number. And, like, you know, what does Wells Fargo have to say about it, as well as, like, Regions Bank? I mean, it's a prepaid card. I mean, it's ultimately not a checking account or a debit card. Yet, you know, the idea of a digital wallet, it's like it's always in a wallet. So, I mean, so what are you saying? Or what is it that you're not saying? Well, Wells Fargo, what do you have to say about it? Being baptized on a stagecoach during the gold rush? I mean, so, like, what is it? Had a warmer horseshoe to the ice capades? So what is it, a 15-digit number or a 16-digit number? Or does the proper numerical composition of the P being silent only represent maybe where the, light scribe isometric only represents that Braille had you actually been there? And know the difference between proper English numerical composition, what, light scribe, isometrics of Braille, and the elevator only means a platform between some ideal relation between, platform and architecture, or some like equator, representing some like elevation, above the equator, making it way beyond like a local area, and even YouTube, okay? I mean, at the ultimatum only seems to be the idea of like papermate, some coordination between like YouTube or some like incomplete pass, or, some idea of like, the high society and great expectations, meeting the requirements, or some like awesome bubblicious portfolio, meeting the requirements of a match and identify on the Concord, breaking the sound barrier, some like, that's a tonal quality of bubblicious, yeah, all that, meeting the requirements of the high society and like the jet stream, some dyslexic quadra perplexity like on the jet stream breaking the sound barrier. Wait a minute, this is an awesome bubblicious portfolio, but hey, wait, it's not time to leave yet, yeah. So like Wells Fargo, what do you have to say about a digital wallet? Does Wells Fargo provide a digital wallet with Wells Fargo's name on it? Or is it only suggesting that Wells Fargo doesn't have the capabilities of accepting what a money card? So a money card is not a debit card. A debit card is only associated with a checking account. Is that not true? Or like a prepaid card is associated with only a direct deposit. And the direct deposit is only electronic, and that's the way Regions presents obviously Wells Fargo information about a digital wallet. So Regions Bank is the prepaid now card, a digital wallet with Wells Fargo's name on it, using Regions Bank's name. I mean, ultimately, that's the only true information about the entire situation. How in the crap did like a negative account on a checking account? I mean, a prepaid now card that only accepts digital deposits from a direct deposit, other than me personally, at an ATM. And it's not a checking account, and a check is not used at all. The only way that could be accepted as anything other than, there's like no possible way that a prepaid card would have any negative balance, period. So like, what's going on with my like Regions Now card? Is it like Wells Fargo? I mean, is that like a harassing technique of like, some like on a stagecoach, some bewildered, like civilized, manner? Some stationary engineering, that insight, what is that supposed to be? Insight, I mean, is that like an internal issue with administration? And once again, what the hell's the goddamn problem? Is really what it is, okay? So like, what do you have to say about it? Have a good day, yeah.